Getting disgustingly rich by investing in the stock market is something that pretty much all investors hope to achieve, but unfortunately not all investors are going to get there because either their lack of knowledge when it comes to investing or just simply picking the wrong stocks or ETFs to invest into. Now in this video, we're going to go through a very simple method of buying into just one simple, high quality dividend growth ETF that, at least in theory, could get any everyday investor like you or I disgustingly rich later on in life. And the cool thing about this method I'm going to show you is that I'm actually doing this as of right now, and I'm going to show you my buys on a consistent basis. Now, if you're interested in learning more about this simple method on how any everyday investor, even new ones, could use and achieve this to become significantly richer later on, make sure to stick around until the end of the video, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. Now, of course, I have to preface this video with saying that this is not the only method that an investor could use to become extremely rich later on, as there's plenty of different stocks or ETFs and different strategies that any investor could follow and achieve the same outcome. But for this video specifically, we're going to go over a very high quality dividend growth ETF, in this case SCHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. And I'm going to explain how buying shares of SCHD consistently over time could turn a relatively small amount of money into a boatload of cash later on down the line. Now, the reason I personally specifically picked this ETF to use this method for is because I personally really like this ETF specific objective, and I think it's a pretty bulletproof strategy. But on top of that, SCHD has a very cheap expense ratio of just 0.06%, has a super high quality basket of holdings, which we're going to go through here later in the video. But also SCHD does pay a decent dividend and has dividend growth, meaning that this ETF will pay you more and more over time. But to dig a little bit deeper, this ETF's objective specifically is to track as closely as possible before fees and expenses the total return of the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. Now, I go deeper into this in other videos, but basically this index, the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index, has a very specific basket of holdings, and there's always new single stocks entering and exiting the index, depending on multiple different strict metrics, which makes this index pretty high quality if you ask me. Now, before I go through and show you exactly how this ETF could simply make any everyday investor extremely rich later on, I said a second ago that this ETF is made up of a diversified basket of holdings of all super high quality companies, and although some of these top 10 holdings aren't necessarily my favorite, like I mentioned, this ETF tracks an index that's constantly rotating through different names, different weightings, which hopefully makes sure that this ETF is going to be super high quality for many years to come. But for example, as of right now, the ETF's top holdings are things like Broadcom, the Home Depot, AbbVie, Texas Instruments, Chevron, and then we have Merck, Cisco, Amgen, Coca-Cola, and PepsiCo. Now, all in all, there's around 100 different holdings within this ETF, which makes it very diversified, which of course means that if 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 names don't have a good quarter or year, the rest of the names should pick up the slack. But one of the main things I look for when buying into a long-term dividend growth investment is of course going to be the trailing 12-month dividend yield, but also how much dividend growth has this ETF or stock had in the past. In the case for SCHD, we have a 3.55% trailing 12-month dividend yield, but the dividend growth rate has been very significant. On the 3-year CAGR, 9.4%, the 5-year 13.05%, and the 10-year 11.39%. And as you're going to see in a minute or so here, I'm going to show you how important dividend growth rate is. Because simply put, as you buy more and more shares of an investment like this one, or this one to be specific, you're going to get paid more and more over time. At least that's what's happened historically. We can't predict the future, but we can look at the past. And what this is going to do for your portfolio is it's going to create a massive compounding effect as you buy more shares over time and as you reinvest the dividends that are paid over time. Especially if you're a relatively younger investor that has some runway ahead of them, you're going to see exactly how big of an impact dividend growth rate is going to have and how much is going to impact your overall portfolio later on down the line. Now, next I wanted to show you the actual inside of one of my dividend growth portfolios and show you what I've been doing in my actual plan here. Now, on a daily basis across all my portfolios, keep in mind this is just one of my portfolios, I buy a minimum 2 shares of SCHD on a daily basis. Now, it doesn't matter if SCHD is trading at $69 per share or $74 per share. No matter what, my strategy, my rule to myself for my long-term holdings is that I buy 2 shares of SCHD regardless. Now, I know some of you that might be watching this video might say, well, I don't have enough money to purchase 2 shares of SCHD, or maybe some of you are watching this video that buy 5 or 10 shares per day. We, of course, all have different cash balances to work with, and of course, if it's either smaller or larger, no judgment there. But for me personally, over the last year or two, I've been buying multiple shares of SCHD consistently every single day, to the point to where as of right now, I currently have around 525 or around 530 shares across all my portfolios. Now, heading over here to the Dividend Calculator, I'm going to show you exactly what my future could most likely look like if I just continue to do what I've been doing, buying around 2 shares of SCHD, and hopefully I'll have some more cash balance moving forward where I can buy around 3 or 4 shares sometime in the future. But as of right now, there's around 252 trading days in the year, more or less, something around there, and I buy around $150 worth of SCHD every single day. Which means that per year as of right now, and of course this could change, but as of right now I'm buying around $37,800 worth of SCHD consistently per year. So coming over here to the Dividend Calculator to give you an idea of what I'm working with, and of course I definitely urge all of you guys to type in some of your own numbers in a Dividend Calculator to see what you're working with. But as of right now, I think I have more or less $35,000 worth of SCHD across my portfolios. SCHD pays a dividend on a quarterly basis. I'm reinvesting the dividends as of right now, and my annual contribution, buying around 2 shares per trading day, is somewhere around $38,000 per year. Now, SCHD currently has around a 3.6% initial starting dividend yield, a 9% annual dividend amount increase, which again, some years are slower, some years are bigger, but let's go with 9%. A 3% expected annual share price appreciation, and 30 years invested. I'm currently 31 years old, so 30 years would bring us to 61 years old. So if I just continue to do exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to show you how a relatively small amount of money, $35,000 starting and $38,000 per year, and keep in mind a small amount of money is going to be relative to whoever you're talking to, of course, but just 2 shares a day is going to look like something like this later on down the road. So as of right now, we're at $35,000 or so of SCHD, and I'm currently earning around $1,200, $1,300 per year in dividends. By next year, end of next year, we should be looking at around $75,000 worth of SCHD and just over $2,900 per year in dividends. By 5 years from now, so I'd be around 36 years old, we're at $212,000 worth of SCHD and just shy of $10,000 per year in dividends. 10 years from now, when I'm 41 years old, $524,000 of just SCHD and around $32,000 per year in dividends. 15 years from now, I'd be around 46 years old. We're around $1,030,000 and $84,000 per year in dividends. 20 years down the road, at this point, I'd be 51 years old, almost $2 million worth of SCHD, and over $215K per year in dividends. And all the way at the bottom, if of course I continue to buy around 2 shares of SCHD consistently, and if of course all the numbers stay the same, which only time will tell, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I could be looking at $9 million and $1.8 million of dividends by the time I'm around 61 years old. Now, I'll repeat something that I said earlier, especially for the dividend growth focused investors out there that have a long runway ahead of them. I personally think, in my opinion, it's very important to invest into high quality assets, something like SCHD, DGRO, VYM, VIG. There's so many good high quality dividend growth ETFs out there these days. And keep in mind, although the initial starting dividend yield isn't sky high like some of the other ETFs out there, you can still see that the math definitely works out. And as long as you stay invested, reinvest the dividends, and of course, if you're invested into a dividend growth ETF, or of course, even a stock for that matter, that pays more and more over time, you're going to be disgustingly rich later on in life if you just happen to stay the course. But now I want to hear from you guys down below. In the case of building out a long-term dividend growth portfolio, what is your #1 asset choice? As of right now, is it a stock? Is it an ETF? What are you buying consistently that's going to get you to that level later on? Comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.